campaign platforms don't get much simpler than this. Fight Obamacare, investigate the IRS, oppose big government, protect the unborn, defend Second Amendment, and support traditional marriage. That was enough to get Vance McAllister elected to represent the 5th Congressional District in Louisiana last year. Here he is, supporting 2 traditional marriages at the same time. The man in this security video at Congressman McAllister's Louisiana office is the congressman himself. The woman in the video is a member of his staff. At the time the video was recorded, they were both happily married to other people. Congressman McAllister was enthusiastically endorsed in his campaign by other supporters of traditional marriage.
Hey, this is Willie Robertson reminding you to get out Saturday, November 16th and vote for my good buddy, Vance McAllister. Let's send somebody from the 5th District who speaks for us to help turn Washington around.
The way conservative Republicans support traditional marriage is, of course, to fight, to prevent gay people from participating in traditional marriage. They insist that marriage equality is an attack on traditional marriage, that it threatens traditional marriage. It turns out one of the biggest threats to traditional marriage in the 5th Congressional District of Louisiana is Congressman Vance McAllister, the husband of the woman who appears on that video in the congressman's extramarital embrace, said this today: "He has wrecked my life. We are headed for divorce. This guy has turned my life upside down." Getting caught on video in the congressman's embrace has cost the woman her job. She was the congressman's scheduler, and over the last 24 hours, there are conflicting reports on whether she quit or was fired. Congressman McAllister, for his part, is clinging to the wreckage of his congressional career and his marriage. He issued a statement saying, "There's no doubt I've fallen short, and I'm asking for forgiveness. I'm asking for forgiveness from God, my wife, my kids, my staff, and my constituents who elected me to serve." The husband of the woman in the video said he's apologized to everyone in the world except me. And so, in his first few months in office, the congressman who was elected to support traditional marriage has so far destroyed one marriage and supported none, including his own. Joining me now is MSNBC's Crystal Ball and Washington Post columnist and MSNBC political analyst E.J. Dionne. Now, Crystal, you know, we always say it's not about the sex.
Right.
And for me, I'm speaking only for me, and I'm sure for my French colleague E.J. Dionne, I don't care about the sex at all. In fact, the statistics show that traditional marriage in America today does include often some kind of extracurricular something.
Yes.
But when you are running on a platform with a political party that says we must deny marriage rights to other people in order to preserve the sanctity of our marriages, you really should not be on videotape like that in your congressional office.
Yeah, I think that's right. And people are very forgiving, right? They're forgiving.
I forgive him. Okay, he's asked for forgiveness. I'm forgiving him. He's got no forgiveness.
As you're saying,
it'll do him a lot of good in that district.
Yeah, well, yes, indeed. But a lot of folks can relate to the situation where you're in a compromising situation where you don't act with your best judgment. This happens to regular people all the time, whether it's to you or someone you know. I think it's a situation people can relate to. But as you're pointing out, the part of this that makes this different is if you go to this congressman's website, you cannot come away without realizing how much he is focused on traditional marriage. He puts his family and family values, quote unquote, front and center in every aspect, in his bio, in his issues, in his campaign videos, every aspect of what he did in terms of becoming a politician and getting to Congress. So you look at that and you say, this guy's a hypocrite. And there's that piece. And then the other piece that I think is a sort of extenuating circumstance here is the fact that it's a staffer. You know, this is someone who is underneath him in terms of the power structure. So it's a typical sort of power dynamic that we don't know what went into this relationship, but it's a troubling circumstance, I think, for a lot of people.
E.J. Dionne, you're here because we need French sophistication when a subject like this comes up. You know, I don't want to retreat into that very, provincial quintessential American puritanical view of these things. But here's a guy coming fresh off a political campaign where he was campaigning on supporting traditional marriage. He's going to be the protector of marriage in the 5th Congressional District in Louisiana, and now this.
Well, a couple of things, Lawrence. First, this has been true all through the gay marriage debate, which is that heterosexuals do a great job of wrecking marriages on their own, and to hang the problem of families on gay or lesbian people just takes a lot of nerve. So I just want to put that out there.
Indeed.
But you know, when you look at the French do have certain rules. They don't like all of this in their faces. They're not crazy about the media covering it, but they don't like it when their politicians get too out of line. So that Sarkozy had a personal life that was more out there than they would like. And, you know, President Hollande has had some stories like this out in the press. And while the French have a reputation for being, you know, completely liberal on this, it gets on their nerves after a while. They just want it to happen in private. Now, obviously, in this case, it's a video the congressman thought that was private. But we Americans are much more forgiving on these issues than our reputation would have it. I mean, I was first on this network talking about the Bill Clinton-Monica Lewinsky story. I think that what sits underneath this, it's a real problem, is why did the woman lose her job?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And I think that is going to be a piece of this story, that whatever happens, whatever people make of the more salacious aspects of it, if she was fired, there's a real big problem here.
Yeah, and we don't know. We do have conflicting reports, Crystal. She may have decided this is untenable. I don't want to walk into that office again. It's too embarrassing.
Which you could certainly understand.
But you know, so her sense, if she left the job, it was her sense of decency after the fact that says, I can't go in there again. The congressman apparently has absolutely no problem walking by those security cameras again into his office trying to hold on to this job.
That's right. I mean, the bottom line here is that he still has his job, at least for the moment, and she, for whatever reason, whether she quit or was fired, no longer has her position. And the other piece of this is we think a lot about forgiveness and do we forgive him, and can voters forgive him, and how are we going to view him, and what's his reputation, and how's he going to be rehabilitated. But we tend to forget about the woman in the story and what is going to happen in her life. Right. And will she be rehabilitated? And what will this mean for her and her family, which has obviously been gravely impacted by this situation? I think that piece tends to be lost as we fixate on the man in power and what's going to happen with him and in his life.
Now, the husband of the woman who is on the video said this about the congressman's embrace of religious values in his campaign. He said, I know his beliefs. When he ran one of his commercials, he said, I need your prayers. And I asked, when did you get religious? He said, when I needed votes. He broke out the religious card, and he's about the most non-religious person I know. EJ, that's another component of this, is running on religion. If voters are going to make voting decisions based on religious claims by guys like this, they are simply begging to be lied to.
Well, you know, I mean, I think both of us have known politicians who actually are genuinely religious. Some occasionally talk about it, and some don't talk about it at all. And I think that the line that's been crossed is we seem, at least in some districts, some voters don't want to vote for somebody unless they are religious, unless they make public displays of religion. And I guess I'm sort of old-fashioned about this, and I begin to mistrust if people sort of talk too much about how religious they are. And I say that as somebody who's very sympathetic to religion.
Yeah, and we are not supposed to have a religious test for involvement in this government, but we do. In politics, we do have a religious test, and it has now become virtually impossible for someone to run for president, for example, as a nominee, Crystal, and not discuss his or her religion.
Absolutely, and it would be unheard of to even imagine at this point someone who publicly claimed to be an atheist.
Well, the worst thing you can be is in the polls. The worst thing you can be is an atheist. Right. They're much more ready to elect every other religion than an atheist.
Absolutely, every other religion, minorities, women, than an atheist is the most challenging position you can be in. So, for this Congressman McAllister and for a lot of politicians around the country, religion is sort of a cultural symbol. It's a cultural signifier. It's a way of saying, I am like you and I stand for the same values and the same set of beliefs that you have. So there is a lot of people dressing up their religion, and maybe even those who sincerely hold those beliefs, putting it forward in a way that they wouldn't were they not seeking public office.
Now, the breaking news on this tonight, and EJ, you tell me if this is a politician who's overplaying a hand he doesn't even have. The breaking news tonight is that Congressman McAllister's top aide told a local Louisiana newspaper that the congressman was going to ask the FBI to probe to find out who leaked that security video.
Wow. Wow.
I thought you didn't try to give a second day to a story like this. I was waiting for that to happen. He is the victim of what exactly? We're going to find out.
Crystal Ball and EJ Dionne, thank you both for joining me tonight.